My wife secretly married her boss, transferred $200, $0 of our savings into a new account, and now she's claiming I'm legally responsible for half the property he's trying to seize. Help, I don't know what's real anymore. Hello everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now let's begin the video, using a throwaway for obvious reasons with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. I never thought I'd be sitting here, typing out my own story about how I found out my wife, Lisa, had been cheating on me for months. Hell, I didn't even suspect she was capable of lying this much. The whole thing started with small signs, little things that seemed innocent at first, but looking back, they were huge red flags. I guess I was just too blind or too comfortable to see the truth. It all blew up one evening when I came home early from work. I had a gut feeling, weird as that sounds, like something was off. Usually, Lisa would be waiting for me, maybe cooking dinner or at least texting me about her day. But that night, the apartment was dead silent. No sign of her. I called her, but she didn't answer. That's when I decided to check her phone. I know, bad move, but I was desperate. I figured maybe she was just busy or had forgotten to reply. What I found was a string of texts that made my stomach drop. She was talking to someone named Mark, a guy I'd never even heard of before. The messages weren't just friendly. They were flirty, suggestive, talking about meeting up, how much she missed him, how they'd been sneaking around for months. I saw plans to go to a hotel, talk about finally being free, and even more disturbing, mentions of money. She transferred a huge chunk of our savings into a new account, claiming it was for a business idea. But I dug deeper and it all looked suspicious. That's when I saw the pictures. At first, I thought it was a joke. There was Lisa in bed with Mark, looking all intimate and happy. The worst part, she was wearing my shirt in some of the photos. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My wife, the woman I loved, was cheating on me with her boss, and they'd been lying to my face for months. I felt a cold rage mixed with heartbreak. I had no idea how to process it all. I thought maybe I'd misunderstood, maybe it was some kind of prank, but the evidence was too clear. It was real. She was really doing this. I sat there for a long time, just staring at the screen, trying to make sense of it all. My mind raced through every conversation, every moment I'd spent with her, trying to find a sign I'd missed. How did she lie so convincingly? Why did she do this? And most of all, what the hell am I supposed to do now? It's like my entire life, the last 7 years, was built on a lie. I felt betrayed, angry, and devastated all at once. I knew I couldn't just brush this off. I had to confront her, but I didn't want to do it without a plan. I needed to understand everything first, even if it was going to hurt like hell. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a train. My mind kept replaying those pictures, those damn texts. I couldn't sleep, so I stayed up and started digging into everything I could find. I needed answers, and I needed to know how deep this rabbit hole went. I found out she had opened a new bank account a few weeks ago under a different name and transferred over $200, $0 of our savings into it. I couldn't believe it. That amount of money, our savings for years, just gone, and she claimed it was for some investment opportunity she was excited about. Yeah, right. I knew better now. She'd been planning this for a while, maybe even before I suspected anything. The more I looked, the more I realized she'd been lying about everything: her whereabouts, her schedule, even her phone calls. She'd been sneaking around behind my back, and the worst part, she'd been doing it with her boss, Greg, a guy I'd always thought of as a decent enough guy. Turns out he's just as shady as she is. I decided I had to confront her face to face. I couldn't keep living like this, knowing she was out there, lying, cheating, stealing from us. I waited until she came home that evening, my heart pounding. She walked in all bitchy attitude, acting like nothing was wrong. I could see it in her eyes. She knew I'd found out. I didn't waste time. I showed her the pictures, the bank statements, the texts. Her face went pale, then she started to lie, of course. "It's all a misunderstanding," she said, brushing it off like I was overreacting. "You're paranoid, it's just sex. God, you're so insecure." I didn't buy it, not for a second. How could she lie so easily? I told her I knew about the money, about Mark, about everything. She looked furious, then started throwing accusations back at me, saying I'd been neglecting her, that I was too focused on work, that I didn't pay enough attention to her. But I wasn't falling for her bullshit. I could see right through her. She was trying to manipulate me, make me feel guilty, but I wasn't having it. I told her I wanted her out of the apartment, that I was done with her lies. Her reaction. She sneered and said, "You think you're so innocent. You're just as bad. Don't pretend you're the victim here." I felt a strange mix of rage and sadness. I'd always thought we had something real, something worth fighting for. But now I saw her for what she was, a liar, a cheat, someone who had been using me and the life we built for her own twisted reasons. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. How could I have missed all the signs? How could she have been so cold and calculating? I knew I had to get out, but at the same time, part of me wanted to expose her, make her pay for what she'd done. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything. Her sneaky little smile when she thought I didn't notice, the way she lied about her whereabouts, the secret bank account, the stolen money. I felt betrayed on every level. I thought about our life together, the plans we'd made, the future I'd imagined, all gone now. I was angry at her, yes, but more than that, I was hurt. I thought I knew her, but now I realized I never really did. I was left with a choice. Do I try to fix this, or do I cut her out completely? The bitterness was deep, and I knew revenge was on my mind more than ever. I wanted her to feel what I felt, utter devastation. But I also knew I had to be smart about it. I had to plan carefully if I wanted to come out on top. That's when I started thinking about how to turn this whole mess around, how to make her pay, not just emotionally but financially too. I didn't want to just walk away. I wanted her to regret every lie, every betrayal. I started gathering more evidence, thinking about legal options and preparing myself for the war that was coming, because I knew this wasn't over yet, not by a long shot. After that confrontation, I knew I couldn't just let things sit. I needed a plan, a way to hit back where it hurt her most, her lies, her money, her reputation. I started digging into her phone and email, trying to find any clues I might have missed. I wasn't just angry, I was determined. I didn't want her to get away with what she'd done. More importantly, I didn't want her to keep controlling the narrative. What I found next was even more shocking. She'd been talking to her boss, Greg, not just about the affair, but about how she was planning to wipe me out financially. She'd told him she wanted to seize control of the house and that she was ready to make him her new life. I couldn't believe the audacity. She was so brazen about it, even sending him pictures of our bank statements, showing how much she'd stolen. She was planning to cut me out completely, leave me with nothing, just like she'd left me with a broken heart. I knew I had to act fast. I reached out to a lawyer, someone who specialized in divorce and asset protection. I didn't want to be caught off guard again. I also started secretly recording her calls and conversations. I wanted proof, real evidence, because I knew she was going to spin this however she could. I kept my cool, but inside I was boiling. Every time I thought about her lying in bed with him, smiling, pretending everything was fine, I wanted to scream. Meanwhile, she kept up her act of being the victim, crying, saying I was paranoid, accusing me of not trusting her. She even had the nerve to call me controlling and jealous whenever I questioned her, but I wasn't falling for her lies anymore. I had seen too much. I had all the proof I needed that she was orchestrating her exit, and she was doing it with her boss's help. In the meantime, I started to look into how I could freeze her accounts, recover some of the stolen money, and maybe even get her legally prevented from selling our shared property. I wasn't planning to let her get away with this. I wanted her to feel the loss, the betrayal she'd inflicted on me, in every way possible. I also contacted some private investigators just to keep tabs on her. I didn't trust her at all anymore. Every moment she was out of sight, I wondered what she was up to, who she was with, what new lie she was cooking up. By the time I had all my ducks in a row, I felt more prepared. I knew the fight was coming and I was ready. I started documenting everything, her moves, her words, the stolen money, her plans with Greg. I didn't want to just confront her blindly. I wanted to hit her where it hurt the most, her wallet, her reputation, her sense of security. I wanted her to realize she couldn't cheat the system, cheat me, and get away with it. The most unnerving part, I could see her slipping further into her web of lies. She was acting like everything was fine, pretending she was the innocent party, even as I was collecting evidence behind her back. But I knew her game now. She thought she was clever, but she underestimated me. I would fight this to the bitter end. I wasn't just going to lose my money or my wife. I was going to make her regret the day she ever decided to betray me. By the time I had enough evidence to make a move, I was furious but also methodical. I knew I couldn't just blow up everything without a plan. I wanted to hit her where it hurt: her pride, her lying, her ability to manipulate. I had the lawyer draft up some legal documents to freeze her accounts, and I made sure to get copies of all the bank statements, texts, and emails. I even hired a private investigator to confirm her whereabouts when she was supposedly at work. The more I uncovered, the clearer it became that she was trying to pull a full-blown escape with Greg's help, leaving me with nothing, just like she'd promised. One day, I decided to confront her again, but this time with everything laid out on the table. I called her into the living room, played her recordings, showed her the bank statements, and told her I knew about her plans. Her face twisted with anger and panic as she realized I wasn't bluffing. She started yelling, trying to dismiss everything, claiming I was paranoid and jealous. She even had the nerve to say, "You're just mad because I don't want to be with someone who's so insecure." That was the moment I realized she was completely deluded. She thought she could lie her way out of this, just like she always did. I told her she was done, that I was filing for divorce and taking control of the situation. I explained I was going to expose her to everyone: her boss, her friends, even her family if I had to. I wanted her to understand that her lies and manipulations had consequences. Her reaction was to scream at me, call me all sorts of names, and accuse me of ruining her life, but I didn't care anymore. I'd already made up my mind. I was going to fight her for every penny, every asset, and every shred of dignity she'd tried to steal from me. In the days that followed, I moved quickly. I contacted the bank to freeze her accounts, hired a forensic accountant to trace the stolen money, and filed for legal separation. I also started gathering witnesses, friends and colleagues who could testify to her behavior, her lies, and her attempts to manipulate the situation. I knew I had to be thorough because I wasn't just fighting for money. I was fighting to keep my sanity and to get her out of my life for good. Meanwhile, she tried to spin the story differently, claiming she was doing this for us, that she loved me but was stressed and confused. I couldn't believe how far gone she was. She kept insisting I was the one cheating, that I was paranoid, that I'd never understand her reasons. But I saw through her every word. She was just trying to save face to avoid the fallout. And honestly, I didn't care about her excuses anymore. I wanted her gone, and I wanted her to pay for what she'd done. The hardest part was realizing how much I'd trusted her, how much I'd sacrificed for this relationship. All those nights I stayed up worrying about her, all those plans we made, gone. Now it was just me, trying to pick up the pieces. I knew the legal battle would be long and messy, but I was ready. I had to be, because I refused to let her walk away with my life, my money, or my future. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming myself from her lies. I was sick of feeling betrayed, sick of feeling stupid for trusting her. But I was also determined to win this, no matter what it took. The legal process dragged on longer than I expected, but I stayed firm. Every time I thought about her sneaking around, lying, stealing my savings to run off with her boss, it fueled my determination. I knew I had to be strategic, so I kept gathering evidence, documenting everything, and working with my lawyer to prepare for the inevitable court hearings. I wasn't just fighting her for money. I was fighting to get my life back, to restore some sense of normalcy after all the chaos she'd caused. One of the most shocking moments came when I finally received the official paperwork from the bank. Her accounts were frozen, and I learned that she'd transferred all that money into a private account she'd hidden under a fake name. The amount she'd stolen, 200, was staggering. It was everything we'd saved for a house, a future, a safety net. She gambled it all away on her affair and her plans to leave me with nothing. That realization hit me like a punch in the gut. I'd trusted her with my life, and she'd been secretly planning her escape with her boss, Greg, all along. The court date finally arrived, and I was ready. I sat there, listening to her lawyer try to spin her story, but I had the evidence on my side. When I took the stand, I told the truth, laid out all the facts, and showed the judge everything: her texts, the bank statements, the recordings. I wanted her to see that I wasn't just some naive husband. She'd been caught red-handed, and I was done playing her game. The courtroom was tense, everyone watching as I explained how she'd betrayed our vows, stolen our savings, and plotted her escape. The judge didn't waste time. She ordered the immediate freeze of her assets, required her to account for every penny stolen, and awarded me a significant portion of the property and savings. I could see the shock on her face. She thought she could lie her way out of it, but the evidence was overwhelming. She tried to argue, to claim she was doing it all for us, but it was useless. Her lies had been exposed, and the court saw her for what she was: a manipulative, selfish woman who'd betrayed everything we built together. After the hearing, I felt a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. The legal battle was over, but the damage was done. I had lost trust, I had lost money, and I had lost the woman I once loved. But I also felt a newfound sense of strength. I had fought for myself, for what was rightfully mine, and I'd won. I realized that revenge, while satisfying in the moment, wasn't the real goal. The real victory was reclaiming my life and moving forward without her in it. In the days that followed, I started the slow process of healing. I moved out of the apartment, found a new place to live, and began rebuilding my sense of self. I kept the evidence I'd gathered, not to dwell on the pain, but to remind myself of what I'd been through and how I'd survived. I learned that trust is fragile, and once broken, it's nearly impossible to repair. But I also learned that I was stronger than I thought, capable of standing up against betrayal and deception. Looking back, I wish I could say I've completely moved on, but the scars are still there. Still, I know I'll be okay. I've learned to trust my instincts more, to listen to that little voice warning me when something's wrong. And I've come to understand that sometimes the best revenge isn't just about money or exposing lies. It's about reclaiming your life and refusing to let betrayal define you. I hope anyone reading this who's going through something similar finds the strength to fight back, to stand tall, and to know that even in the worst moments, there's a way out. Now that everything's settled, I spend a lot of time reflecting on what I've been through. Honestly, I never thought I'd come out the other side of this stronger, but I did. The betrayal cut deep, but it also forced me to confront my own limits, to realize what I truly value. I've learned to trust myself again, to listen to that quiet voice that warns me when something's off. Living through her lies, her manipulations, and the betrayal of our shared life has changed me. I see now that people aren't always who they pretend to be, and that sometimes the only way to protect yourself is to be ruthless about uncovering the truth. I made mistakes, trusting too easily, ignoring the signs, but I also learned that you can't ignore your gut. When something feels wrong, it probably is. The hardest part was accepting that I couldn't change her. No matter how much I loved her, no matter how much I wanted things to go back to the way they were, she chose her selfish path. I had to let go of the hope that she'd suddenly see reason, that she'd admit everything and change. That's a lesson I want anyone reading this to remember. Sometimes people don't change. You have to do what's best for you, even if it means walking away from someone you once loved. Now I focus on rebuilding my life. I've started over in a new place, surrounded myself with friends who support me, and taken steps to secure my financial future. I don't dwell on the past anymore. What's done is done. Instead, I use it as a reminder of my resilience. I'm more cautious now, more aware of the warning signs, but I also feel a sense of relief. I'm finally free from the lies, the betrayal, and the chaos she brought into my life. If there's one thing I want others to take from my story, it's this: don't let betrayal define you. Yes, it hurts, and yes, it's painful to realize someone you trusted has been lying and cheating all along. But you have the strength to fight back, to reclaim what's yours, and to move forward. Trust is fragile, but your own resilience is stronger. Keep your eyes open, trust yourself, and never let anyone steal your peace. Life is too short to be held hostage by someone else's lies. Stand tall, learn from your pain, and keep going.